The two scariest things that any military fighting man or woman will ever experience is an E3 with a badge and a lieutenant with a map. I can't help you with the E3 with a badge. That is a rite of passage that we all have to endure. But I can help you with the lieutenant with a map. I can give you the necessary skills and knowledge necessary to keep that lieutenant from ever having the need to touch the map that you need in order to traverse your troops from one checkpoint to another. Good afternoon. I'm Gunny. I'm the director of FobRaiser, and today I'm going to give you a very introductory level class on land navigation. But before I do that, I need to talk about a couple of things that are pertinent to the land nav course that you're going to be participating on with the members of FobRaiser. The first thing I need to talk about is what you need to wear and the equipment that you need to bring with you. We strongly suggest that you wear shoes, lace-up tennis shoes, hiking boots, not flip-flops, not slides, not cowboy boots. Lace-up tennis shoes, or even better, hiking boots are best. You're going to be traversing terrain out there in the woods. It is very much recommended that you wear trousers, not shorts, and a t-shirt of some sort, or long sleeve t-shirt probably would be best. It's very important that we dress appropriately. It's also very important that you bring a water source of some sort with you. We're going to have water for you to drink. We're going to have a lot of water for you to drink, and it's going to be little bottles that, you know, the bottles that we get from the Walmart or whatever. But if you had a device to pour those water bottles into, that would behoove you to do so. Also, it's highly recommended that you bring writing utensil and something to write on, some sort of piece of paper, because you're going to need to take notes while you're getting the class out there, and also while you're on the course. You're going to have to get information that's required for the purposes of being on the course. I'm going to teach this class via the lecture method, aided by my turn chart and a little bit of motivation from me, as much as humanly possible. So let's go ahead and get started with this course, and let's figure out exactly how we're going to learn some basic land navigation. The first thing I need to talk to y'all about is the map. The map is extremely important when doing land navigation. The picture on the left. Couple of things I need to talk to you guys about. One is that's a 1 in 25,000 scale. The map is 1 in 25,000 scale. That's very important for you guys to understand, especially when it comes to using the protractor that we're going to use. The other thing is you see the distance that's depicted underneath 1 in 25,000 scale. The big top line is in miles. The bottom line is in kilometers. We are going to concern ourselves with distance traveled in kilometers today, and on the course when you come out. The next thing I want to talk about is the right picture, the picture on the right, because there's 3 different types of north. A lot of people just think it's north, and north is north, but that's not the case. You've got true north, which is the direction pointed directly towards geographical north, where the Earth's axis of rotation meets its surface. That is actual true north. Grid north is what we're going to be using when we're working on the map. Grid north is the direction of the vertical grid lines on the map, which may differ slightly from true north due to the map projections. And then finally, magnetic north. That's the north that we use when we're using our compasses. It's the direction of the magnetic compass points to, and it aligns with the Earth's magnetic field. And it changes over periods of time. Over time, it gradually changes. The real important thing for you guys to understand is we're going to use grid north when we're looking at our map. We're going to use magnetic north when we are traversing with our compasses, and there's a difference. Grid north to magnetic north is 4 degrees. So whenever you you determine the direction of travel with grid north, now you've got to convert it to magnetic north, and you've got to subtract 4 degrees. Very simple, and we're definitely going to talk about that here in future slides, so do not worry about it if you're sitting there like, what is he talking about? We'll get it hammered out, ladies and gents, I promise you that. The next thing we're going to talk about is, what does the map look like? Okay, I want you to understand, this is not a map like you use to travel on roads, okay? That's not what this map is for. This map is for you to be able to see what the terrain looks like, and for you to have an understanding of what the terrain is going to look like when you're actually traveling on the ground. Something I want to talk about on the left slide is, you see those brown lines. Those are what we call contour lines. If you look at the right pin mark, it's pointed directly towards a creek bed. Now, looking to the left of the creek bed, you see the very first contour line says 300. That is saying that contour line, that place on the earth, is 300 meters above sea level. Each contour line escalates or increases by 10 meters. So in this case, you're going to notice that it's 310, 320, 330, 340, 350 meters from this contour line to this line. You're going to go from 350 meters to 300 meters. And this circle right here depicts the top of a hill. Now, that's very important to understand, and I want you to pay attention to the space between each contour line. Compared to the picture on the right, the space on each contour line is spaced out, and that tells me that is more of a gradual slope, a gradual climb to go from 300 to 350 meters. Look at the picture on the right. Again, we've got a creek bed going through. But the thing I want you to pay attention to is these contour lines. Again, these contour lines are 10 meters in elevation. There's a difference of 10 meters in elevation from the bottom to each particular contour line. The important part that I want you to understand and I want you to pay attention to is to look and notice exactly how much closer each contour line is from how close they are from one to another. That signifies that is a very, very steep, extremely steep slope. Whereas the one on the left, they're spaced out. There's more space in between, which means that it's an easier route to travel, to travel using the contour lines on the left versus the contour lines on the right. That is a very, very almost straight up and down hill that you're going to be trying to traverse, almost a cliff, if you will. So it's very important to understand contour lines on your map. Now, we've talked about what the map looks like. You've got an idea of what the terrain is going to look like. Now let's talk about traversing or establishing a direction of travel. When we establish it up, first I'd like to draw your attention to the picture on the left. If you notice, on the top of that hill is SP. That's starting point for the purposes of this period of instruction. SP is the starting point. That's where you're going to step off from. CP1 is at 11 o'clock on the picture on the left. CP1 is going to be checkpoint 1. For the purposes of this period of instruction, we are going to be tasked with figuring out the direction of travel to go from starting point to checkpoint 1. I would like you to pay attention on the left photograph, the blue grid lines. The blue grid lines, those are very important. These grid lines that are running up and down depict north and south. The grid lines that are running left to right depict east and west. Okay, it's very important that we understand that. Now, let's go ahead and let's talk about the protractor that you're going to use. The protractor, again, is a 1 in 25,000th map, so we're going to pay attention to 1 in 25,000th scale in future slides. But right now, what we need to pay attention to is first and foremost where it says Juliet, Delta, Tango, TAC 12, TAC whatever. If you put your protractor on the map and you can't read that because it's backwards, your protractor needs to be flipped over. Okay, you need to be able to read everything that's on the protractor while you're using it. And if you can't, then it's upside down. Simply flip it over. The other thing that's very important is we've got two sets of numbers on this protractor. You've got the top sets of numbers, which is mils. That's not important for what we're going to learn about today. The bottom set of numbers is degrees. And that is what we are going to focus on for land navigation on the FOB Razor Land Nav course. 0 degrees or 360 degrees, but for the purpose of this, 0 degrees is north. 90 degrees is east. 180 degrees is south. And 270 degrees is west. Very important to understand that. We always want 0 to be pointing directly north on our map when we're using our protractor. The next thing we need to talk about is when we're going to use our protractor to determine the distance of travel. The first thing we need to do is we need to pay attention to these crosshairs right here. We want to put these crosshairs directly on top of our starting point. We also want to try to make sure, as much as humanly possible, that we ensure that the north and south running line on the protractor is in keeping exactly with the north and south running line on our map, and same with the east and west running line on our protractor is in keeping with the east and west running line on our map, just like that. Now I'm here to tell you one thing that I do, and it makes it a lot easier for me. Once I have the protractor on the map and those lines are running parallel to the crosshairs on my protractor, I go ahead and tape it down. Because this way my hands are shaky, or if I move or whatever, I don't cant the protractor and mess up how it's set up on the map. So I tape it down and it works really well for me. So maybe you want to bring some Scotch tape with you too, that might help. Now, once again, we've got the starting point put directly on top of the crosshairs. And that's really important, so let's make sure we take a second to look at that and pay attention to how it is set up on there. Next, let's talk about, now that we've got the protractor on the map, we've got the crosshairs intersecting that starting point. All we simply need to do now is take a straight edge. In this case, I have an envelope, but a straight edge of any type of sorts will suffice. And we run that straight edge directly over top of the starting point and run the length of that edge directly across checkpoint 1. As you can see, we have done that, and in doing so, the envelope intersects with the bottom row of numbers, which is degrees, the direction of which we need to travel. 325 degrees is here, so 324, 23, 322 degrees is what the direction of travel needs to be found. It needs to be traveled by the map, so which means grid. The grid direction of travel is 322 degrees. So we go ahead and we write that down. Now, is that the direction of travel that we're going to use on our compasses? No, Waldo, because remember, we need to differentiate from grid north to magnetic north. And like we discussed on the first slide, 4 degrees. 4 degrees is the difference from grid to magnetic in this particular part of the country where we're going to be doing land nav at, because it changes. 4 degrees. So to go from 322 degrees, we minus 4, and that gives us a 318 degree magnetic azimuth of which we need to travel. That is how we establish the direction of travel for our land nav course. The compass. The picture on the right depicts what the use of a lensetic compass. A lensetic compass. If you come out there, if you bring a lensetic compass, chances are you probably already know how to use it. But if you do not, and you come out there with a lensetic compass, don't worry about it. We'll show you exactly how to use it. We've got plenty of men and women out there that know how to use it. And if you're having any questions on how to use a lensetic compass, we'll be there for you. It's something that's a little bit easier to show you in person versus on a computer PowerPoint. The other thing that most of you guys are going to use for your compasses is your cell phones. That compass that comes with your cell phone is it is definitely accurate enough for what we're going to be doing out there on the land nav course. So what I simply did was I went ahead and I oriented it so that my compass was pointing on my phone was pointing 318 degrees. I need to point out that the compass on your phone is pointing magnetic. It is magnetic. So even though you're using your phone, you still need to convert from grid to magnetic in order to shoot the azimuth of for the direction you need to travel when you're out there on the course. But that's the compass, and that's how we're going to use it. Most of you are going to come out there with your cell phones, and so I encourage all of y'all to make sure you've got a full charge on it, or as close to it as possible, to have a full charge on your cell phone when you come out there. Let's talk about establishing distance now, shall we? When we're establishing distance, we need to make sure that we know exactly how far we need to travel from one checkpoint to another. For the land navigation course that you're going to be doing, hosted by Fob Razor, we are going to keep the checkpoints at around or less than, for the most part, 1,000 meters. Each checkpoint should be 1,000 meters or less from one checkpoint to the other. So with that said, we can use our protractors to determine the distance of which we need to travel. By doing that, remember I said 1 in 25,000 is the size of the map. So we need to use the part of the protractor that depicts 1 in 25,000, as you see here on my cursor. If you're curious which one is that, because there's 3 of them on your protractor, the biggest one. The big one is the one you're going to use for the Fob Razor land navigation course. And then all I simply did was I went ahead and I put the 0 on the starting point, and I ran one of the hard edges with the numbers on it across to checkpoint 1. From there, I was able to determine that the distance from starting point to checkpoint 1 is 960 meters. 960 meters is the direction of travel. Pretty simple, right? That's probably the easiest thing that you're going to encounter in preparation for getting on the course, is the distance that you need to travel. Now, some of you are going to be like, well, how do I know how far 960 meters is while I'm walking on the course? You're going to do what's called a pace count before you ever step off onto the actual course. A pace count is designed for you as the man or woman walking on the terrain to decide how many steps you take constitutes 100 meters. So it's not every single step you take, it's every time your left foot strikes the ground, how many steps you're taking to reach 100 meters. My pace count is 68 steps. So when I walk from starting point to checkpoint 1, every time I reach 68 steps with my left foot, I know I've traveled 100 meters. So when I get out there and I'm walking 1, 2, 3, 65, 66, 67, 68th step of my left foot constitutes 100 meters. I just went 100 meters. Now I go ahead and I step off again, counting 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth till I get to 68 again. Now I've traversed 200 meters. We're going to have a pace count course set up for you out there, so each and every single one of you are going to have the opportunity to figure out exactly what your pace count is before you ever get on the course. All right, during this period of instruction, we've talked about what you need to bring with you out to the land nav course. We've talked about how to use what the map looks like. We talked about the 3 different types of north. We've talked about how to establish your direction of travel, and we've also established how you're going to establish your distance to travel. Once again, it's important that we dress appropriately. We bring our phones with us or a compass. We bring something to write with, and we bring something to write on. And you bring something to drink water out of, unless you want to take 5 or 6 of these with you out on the course. When you get out there, we're gonna give you another class. So this class is just to get you spun up on exactly what to expect and get you an idea of what you're going to need to be done. But we're also going to give another class when you get out there in person, and we're going to have veterans out there that are going to assist you before, after, and during your travels on the course. We look forward to having you out there. We're very grateful that you guys are going to take the time to come out to our land nav course and experience some of the training that the military fighting men and women in your country experience on a regular basis. Again, I'm Gunny. I'm the director of FOB Razor, and I'm very grateful for this time. Thank you so much.